to taste better, and no animals were harmed in the process. 3, I want to...
That is a lie. If you are eating soy, you are harming a whole lot of animals. You are harming entire ecosystems. I would say that you're engaging in one of the most harmful industrial agricultural processes on the planet. Way, way, way more harmful than if you were eating lamb or beef or something like that. Hey everyone, so today we're going to be reacting to a vid by this guy called Stash. His video is called "You've Been Lied to About Plant-Based Protein." Let me just say as an introduction, I kind of like this guy. I've seen some of his videos in the past where he's tried to do like different kinds of vegan experiments, and as a personality, as a person, I think he seems like quite a nice guy, which is a refreshing change from some of the people that I interview on this channel. But yeah, let's see what he has to say.
You've been lied to about plant-based
Sorry, not people I interview on this channel, people I react to on this channel. Yeah.
protein. This is a 100% plant-based sandwich with over 45 grams of protein.
Remember, when we're talking about protein, we don't just want to count the total protein. So proteins are amino acids, right? So there's essential amino acids, and there's also the question of protein digestibility. So there's different scores. There's PDCAS and DIAS. I've made videos about this in the past. Those are different measures of how to, estimate. You can never know because we don't have a measure there, and everyone's gut is a little bit different. So in the case of PDCAS, I think they looked at sort of infant poop to try and figure this stuff out, especially infants with not very good lower intestine. So they had to sort of it's kind of gross. You had to put an ostomy bag in an infant or something because they were born with a very dysfunctional large intestine. And then you would measure the stuff that came out of the poop. I may have the methodology slightly wrong, but that's how. And they were interested in why the babies, because they were interested in the question of how to formulate infant formula so that you could get enough protein, right? So that was one. The other one, Diaz, I may have this backwards. It's been a while since I did this research. That was really done in pigs because pigs have a similar kind of digestive system to humans, and you sort of get the estimates of how much protein is actually digestible. So for this video, I'm not going to be in previous videos, I've done spreadsheets and stuff and looked at how much protein is actually digestible. I'm just going to mostly take him at his word. So if he says that that's how much protein that is, that's fine. But just keep in mind, you're probably not going to be getting all that in you if you eat it.
This is a clean plant-based protein.
What does clean mean? Like, what does that mean? What are you trying to say? It's not going to make you poop. It is going to make you poop. Yeah, what does that mean, clean?
It's cultured for extra gut health.
Cultured means fermented. I think that's what it means. And the fact that he said that it's for extra gut health, that's what it means. So looking at that is probably tempeh, which is fermented soy protein. I have been privileged enough to have and even make tempeh with Indonesian friends. Nothing wrong with it. Don't recommend eating too much of it, but it is what it is.
It's loaded with fiber. This has a...
Fiber is indigestible carbohydrate. Why would you want to eat something that has the word indigestible in the title of what it is? It is called fiber. Fiber is indigestible, so therefore eat it.
Similar protein ranking as chicken breast.
Does that mean anything? Do we care about that? I don't know.
This is a tempeh salad sandwich, and it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, so again, I haven't seen this video, but I've seen similar video. I've seen some of his videos in the past, and he's basically a cook. He basically likes to cook things. So yeah, talking about taste and all for the purposes of our discussion and protein quality, not relevant.
This is one of my personally favorite recipes. I'll show you that a little bit later. I am constantly seeing videos of shirtless bros in their kitchen.
Whatever that was, it didn't look like protein, by the way. So it didn't look like tempeh. So remember, tempeh has to be put out in the sun. It has to be fermented. It has to be cured in banana leaves. It grows a kind of fungus around it. There's a traditional process to growing tempeh. And when you buy it in the Western supermarket, you're not buying the same product. You're not buying an indigenous product, which has been eaten for hundreds of years in places like Indonesia. I don't know what you're buying. It's some kind of industrially processed fermented soy sludge.
Animal proteins to plant-based proteins, talking about how much better the animal protein is.
But so better, like, what does that mean, right? So I think those gym bros have their own agenda, which is like, how can I get my protein requirements without eating too much food total for various reasons? And therefore things like chicken breast, that's what they want, right? So I guess what I would suggest is know your goals first. Like, what are you actually doing? What are you trying to optimize for? And then decide on your protein strategy.
They're doing very poor comparisons. They're comparing some of the worst plant-based proteins to some of the best animal-based proteins.
I think that's probably true, but it's also true that, this guy's got peanut butter versus salmon on the screen right now. And it is true that a lot of people, especially a lot of vegans, are eating things like peanut butter or nut butters thinking that they're getting some protein out of it, right? So therefore, I mean, I have no idea who this guy is. I haven't seen his videos. I haven't even seen this video. But I think it's a useful comparison because whatever these foods are, those look like lentils. Is that brown rice in the background? These are foods that people eat when they go on plant-based diets thinking they're going to hit their protein targets. So people debunking that notion is useful, even if it's not a one-to-one comparison, which is what this guy is saying. Fine.
That would be like me comparing this super firm block of tofu that's 75 grams of protein to a glass of milk. So in this video, I wanted to quickly break.
Fair enough. I mean, I take the point. You have to choose your comparisons well. I don't know that you have to, right? It depends. Again, what's the point you're trying to illustrate in the video? Listen, when we're doing science education, it's not easy. We have to pick our analogies based on what we think our audience will understand, but also try and educate them at the same time. So this is not easy work. Kudos to Sawstash and whoever else is doing this work. I think it's great. But it's not easy. So, it's very easy to criticize someone else's approach. Maybe they're trying to get across a specific point. Maybe you're trying to get across another point.
Down the research on soy so we could stop this silliness. So let's get moving. Silliness number one.
So soy is an interesting one, right? Because if we look at indigenous communities, I mentioned Indonesia. When you order soy in Indonesia, when you order tempeh at an Indonesian restaurant, you don't just get tempeh. No one just orders tempeh. You get tempeh as a side with ayam goreng, right? Fried chicken, maybe some nasi liwet, maybe some rice, right? So it's part of a dish, and it's a very small part of the dish. It's like a condiment, right? Even in traditional Chinese society where tofu originates about 2,000 years ago, how is that tofu used? It was used as a condiment. It was used as a side dish. Even today, what's the most famous tofu dish in China? Mapo tofu in the Sichuan style, right? Mapo tofu is basically a pork dish. I was shocked the first time I went to China as a vegetarian and I tried to order mapo tofu and I got a big bowl of pork. Yeah, I mean, obviously I didn't eat it because I was still very strict vegetarian at that time, but it's not a tofu dish per se. Tofu is a condiment.
Does soy give you estrogen? No. Soy is loaded with phytoestrogens, not estrogen.
So phytoestrogens and estrogens are interesting. So phytoestrogen is the plant source, right? So how do you know that phytoestrogens are safe in the long term? I don't think we can say that, right?
They don't react in your body in the same ways that normal estrogens do.
That is true, but they might bind to some of those sites and take them out of commission. Again, we don't know. The studies that have been done, from what I understand, are fairly short term. So I don't think we have good answers to this question.
Studies show no drop in testosterone.
Oh, he's got a study on the screen. Okay, let's look this up. Okay, so this is the study. Unfortunately, this is just an abstract, and I will never just use an abstract. Let's see if I can find a way to actually get the article. Okay, so here is that paper. It is indeed. So the first thing to say about this paper is that it is a meta-analysis of clinical studies, right? So that's sort of what we want. The problem is the fact that it's clinical studies is going to mean that it's extremely short term. Let's just see if we can find some graphs here. Yes. Okay, duration. This is useful, right? First study, 25 days. Second study, 4 weeks. Third study, 12 weeks. Fourth study, 6 months. Looking at all this stuff, weeks, months, 1 year. Okay. Yeah. So we got a couple of 6 month studies, a couple of 1 year studies. So even if we accept whatever this guy's about to say about, the complete, that soy is safe to consume is what he's trying to say, right? And it won't tank your testosterone. Even if that's true based on this study can only inform on results at most up to 12 months. And honestly, because it's a pooled study looking at many, you have to look at the net average of all those amounts of time. And so I think you can say on average, like if you want to consume a lot of soy protein for 6, 8, 10 weeks, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, that's safe. Beyond that, anybody's guess, right?
Or fertility in men. 2, it's inferior to animal-based protein. If you compare soy to whey.
So what does inferior mean? Like, what are we actually doing here, right? Like, are you just looking at it in the lab, or are you looking at it in terms of digestion as well?
Yes, there is slightly less leucine, but...
let us just look up some amino acid profiles here. So this is a graph illustrating the differences in the 9 essential amino acids. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 2, 4, 6, yeah, 8 of the essential 9 amino acids. I don't know why they stopped at 8. Maybe they just made it wrong because it says it's 9, right? And it is showing that it's not just leucine, right? There's less isoleucine, there's less valine. Basically, there's less of everything in soy per gram. Oh, histidine, more histidine, okay, and more phenylalanine, okay. So with those two exceptions, there is less of every amino acid in soy protein than in whey protein. Does that matter? I don't know.
but still plenty enough leucine to trigger muscle protein synthesis.
Do you know how much protein is, or do you know how much leucine is needed to trigger muscle protein synthesis? Like, can you actually say that? Well, this is another study, no significant differences in muscle growth and strength development. 12-week resistance training. So again, over 12 weeks, is that how long you're going to be consuming soy? As long if you consume soy for 12 weeks, I don't think I have a problem, right? You probably do fine. Beyond that, longer than that, I mean, a lot of us have. I was addicted to soy. I was addicted to soy milk. I was addicted to tempeh and tofu. I did not do well. My gut had serious issues by the end of that.
According to the PDCAAS and the DIAAS ratings,
so you mentioned PD Kazandaya. So he actually, at least he's done a bit of research. That's good.
Soy and chicken and whey all have very similar, very close ratings. This sandwich is no
cool. I'm not even going to look that up. Fine. I'm not sure that I care, but okay.
More inferior to muscle building than a chicken salad sandwich would be.
Over a 12-week period, perhaps, right? We have to be very careful. When people are citing science, we have to be very careful as to what exactly they're saying and what exactly they're allowed to say, what exactly they're entitled to say based on the results of that particular study, right? I've only talked about duration as one particular confounding variable, right? Again, who was the study on? Was it on young, healthy men? Probably. Does that apply to older women? Maybe not, right? So there are all these things that we have to consider before extrapolating results. And for me, the question is always going to be, is it an ancestrally appropriate food? And if so, like, how was it consumed ancestrally?
And it's easier to make. I think it tastes better, and no animals were harmed in the process. 3, I want to.
That is a lie. If you are eating soy, you are harming a whole lot of animals. You are harming entire ecosystems. I would say that you're engaging in one of the most harmful industrial agricultural processes on the planet. Way, way, way more harmful than if you were eating lamb or beef or something like that. I don't think there's any question about that, especially lamb, because lamb has to be grass-fed. But even sort of grain-finished beef, you're doing far less harm by eating whatever it is, 1/100th of a cow, than by eating a handful of soybeans. Yeah, a lot more animals are dying. Let's be clear about that.
Bust the health risk myths. Soy is linked to lower LDL cholesterol, better heart.
Who cares about LDL cholesterol? No, nobody cares about it. We shouldn't be caring about LDL cholesterol. It is at best a surrogate marker. Okay, at best. So if you're concerned about your LDL cholesterol, get a scan, measure heart disease, get a coronary artery calcium score, or some other test if you think you're at high risk of heart disease, right? I have LDL that's through the roof. For example, my LDL is over 400, which is 11 in sort of British terms. And I got I've had my coronary artery calcium scan done, 0, no disease at all, right? And in my age group, you would expect about a third of people to have some disease. So if I've had monstrously high or massively high LDL for 10 years and I have no heart disease, what does that tell you?
Benefits and possible reductions in certain cancers. Compare that to
possible reductions in certain cancers. Okay, possibly not, I guess, right?
Studies with animal-based proteins, and you're going to see a different painted picture. And
really, I don't know that we can say that, right? I mean, we have people, including people who we've interviewed on this channel, Andrew Scarborough being one of them, who has basically, I hesitate to use the word reverse or cure, but he was given what was basically a death sentence with cancer more than 10 years ago, and he's still here. He's still doing okay on a diet of exclusively animal products. So what does that mean, right?
4, digestibility and bloating. 2 different things. Protein digestibility, I hear that all of the time. Soy proteins and fermented proteins are highly digestible. Something
for who? Like if you're having an infection, just to give an extreme example, if you're having an infection, if you're having dysentery, will you be able to digest the soy protein? No, right? You won't be able to digest any protein, right? So that's an extreme example, but the point is that it depends on the state of your gut. For a lot of my clients who are suffering from autoimmune bowel disease, like we don't, we see that soy just doesn't suit. It can't be digested for whatever reason. It causes triggers, it causes flare ups. I don't want to get into the whole autoimmune discussion here necessarily, but it's not going to work for most people. It's just not, right? It's too hard to break down. So when you say it's highly digestible, like for who, how, like under what circumstances?
Like this protein blend here, which is a organic pea protein and hemp seed protein, all have a highly digestible amino acid profile.
Highly digestible amino acid profile. Like is our amino acids what's going to determine the digestibility, or are things like fiber and what's encasing those amino acids? That's more relevant, right?
Similar to an animal-based protein. Something like tempeh, which is cultured.
By the way, those powders, we don't recommend those powders for anyone suffering digestive issues, whether it's a soy powder or a whey powder, or I don't really care. It has they have weird effects. The body isn't used to seeing powders. The body's used to seeing food. So we don't recommend eating powders under any circumstances, right? Well, that's not true. If you're a specific, like if you're a weightlifter and you want to hit certain targets, okay, you can do that. I don't necessarily advise it, but I can understand why you would do that. But if you're someone suffering from disease, autoimmune disease, bowel disease, we definitely don't want to be touching anything in powder form if we can avoid it.
And fermented ends up being
an exception. We don't want to be touching proteins in powdered form. Sorry. Some people will hear that and say, you just told me to take some salt and some, electrolytes. Not talking about those. Just talking about protein powders.
More digestible because of the extra gut boosting bacteria. So
you'd have to prove that. Like, how do you know that it's more digestible? Under what? Have you done have you cut someone open? Have you looked in a colostomy bag after giving someone that stuff, someone without a large intestine, to see how much of it is left? Because we see, again, not in the protein form, and certainly not with soy. No one with an ostomy bag is going to be eating soy. I promise you. Maybe they will, but they'll soon learn not to. But if you know people with an ostomy bag, and again, we've interviewed Lee Kopus on this interview. His channel is Ken Carnivore. He has an ostomy bag, and he describes how when he was eating vegetables, they were coming straight out the bag. They weren't being digested at all, right? When he started eating only meat, suddenly there was very little stuff coming out into the ostomy bag, and it was all in liquid form, right? So what can we learn from that?
I want to put these myths to bed. Share this video. Anybody can debate me on this one. You're not going to win. I'm actually...
Dude, like I say, I think you're a nice guy. I'd be happy to debate. Yeah, let me know.
Really excited because I'm going to be proving this point even a little bit further. Mid-November through December, I'm going to be doing a high protein diet that is going to consist only of soy protein. I'm also going to be hitting the gym extra hard, doing some heavy strength training.
So if you're just changing your diet, that's fine. That would be a good N=1 experiment. But if you're changing your diet and your gym routine, what are you teaching us? Like, because you could do the gym routine without the diet, and you could do the diet without the gym routine. You don't know which of those variables is leading to the better results, right?
Weightlifting, and we're going to be seeing the differences consuming a higher amount of soy protein over not. It's going to be pretty exciting. It's going to be a fun test. That video will come out in late December. So
let me just say,
really quick,
this guy didn't used to have
some fun facts.
These you see these sort of skin tag kind of things. I'm not sure what this is. Is that a mole or what? I don't know what's going on with his face is what I'm trying to say, but maybe he's having... Usually we see clients who have gut issues, they tend to have sort of a breakout or something on their face. Something weird is going on with their skin. I'm certainly not making a diagnosis, but just saying, dude, you might want to cut down on the fiber. That's not looking good, whatever it is.
Soy is a complete protein, meaning all 9 essential amino acids. It's high in iron, calcium, usually fortified, and magnesium.
Fortified. Okay, so is fortified calcium the same as natural calcium? How would you know that?
It's sustainable. Lower environmental impact.
It is not sustainable. Let's be perfectly clear. Soy is one of the most soil degrading crops out there. And this you can even hear from the vegans, right? What are they complaining about? Rightfully, talking about the destruction of the Amazon. The Amazon is being displaced by farmers who want to grow soy because, again, that's what Brazil is subsidizing and so on. So it's a complicated story as to why these things are happening. And it's not just animal feed, and it's not just soy oil, and it's not just subsidies. It's a mix of all these things, but it is certainly not sustainable. And it is probably, I don't know, I'd have to look it up, but it is certainly one of the crops that is leading to the most deforestation. And I don't think this guy's pro deforestation, right? So no, have your grass. If you're concerned about sustainability, and I think we all should be, grass-fed meat is the way to go.
packed than animal protein, extremely versatile, powders, tofu, tempeh, edamame, soy milk, lots of different varieties, and most of what we're eating is farmed here in the United States. We are one of the biggest producers of soy in the world. So what?
Oh, okay. That's so what exactly? Fair enough. Okay. You want to eat locally, that's fine. By the way, this soy is in the headlines because with Trump's tariffs and so on, China did not buy U.S. soy. It's buying it from Argentina, which is a country that Trump is also propping up. Like, it's very complicated, but soy is in the headlines in the moment. Maybe that's why he's making this video. I don't know.
About this sandwich? It's incredibly good, it's incredibly easy, and it only takes about 10 minutes, which is plenty of time for today's sponsor.
Okay, so I think that's it. I think the other part of this video is just him making the sandwich, which I have zero interest in. Listen, what to say about this? I think we have to be very clear about some things. If we are making a case for eating a diet that has not been ancestrally consumed by any humans prior to the 20th century, which is what the vegan diet is, we have to be extremely careful and extremely cautious, because the chances are that if we're, let's take an extreme example. If we were to advocate that all elephants start eating cake and that they live on a diet of cake, well, before I want to feed my elephant in the zoo that kind of diet, I want you to do long-term studies on a fairly big population of elephants so that you can prove to me that cake eating is healthy for elephants. And in the case of cake, we all sort of intuitively know, okay, that's not going to work. So we don't even have to test it, right? But in the case of humans, if you're advocating for a diet, and I've told you how soy was consumed traditionally in Chinese society, in Indonesian society, yes, it was made and it was there. It was mostly a condiment. It was mostly a side dish. It was not the main course, right? So once you understand that, and now you're saying, no, I want soy to be my main protein source, now the burden of proof is really on you. Like, you got to prove to me that you're not going to do any harm. If you want to do it to yourself, I don't care. I did it to myself for years and I destroyed my gut. I don't care if you do it to yourself, but if you're advocating it for other people, that's where we need to be very clear. Like, what are the long-term consequences of this? What is the null hypothesis? The studies that you've cited are not done for longer than 12 weeks, 6 months, maybe a year. I didn't start getting sick from excess soy consumption till like year 4, 5, 6, 7. I think in year 4 is probably when I got addicted to soy milk and I was really chugging the stuff, right? So it took a long while for me to really feel any negative effects. And we don't have those kind of studies. So anyway, some food for thought. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one.